Liza and Nicole. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having us.
Great. Yeah, it's so exciting to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. It's honestly such a privilege to have you take the time out of your day, because I know you're very, very busy in your business, the Female Film Club. And I'm just so excited to talk about your business and also personal development, because it's such a huge, huge thing, isn't it, in business, having that personal development work involved and being able to really sort of understand your mindset and be able to make it stronger all the time. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to hear all about it. So I just wanted to get started today talking about basically your background. Where were you before the Female Film Club? What were you doing? Did you have previous careers? So I'll start with Nicole. So where were you at the beginning, before the Female Film Club?
Who was I before the Female Film Club? No, before the Female Film Club, my background is actually in human rights. Okay. So I had studied human rights. I have a master's in law and human rights. And then human rights led me on to getting into the film industry, because I really believe that film is such a powerful medium in just telling stories and opening people's minds and really changing perception. And I thought, okay, I work in policy, but how great if you make this amazing film and actually it can make such a difference while you're working towards policy changes for so long.
Yeah.
So I got into film, and I had an incredible opportunity to co-produce a British Ugandan feature film, which then led me to the BFI Festival, which then led me to meeting the incredible Liza here, which then led to us doing a short film together that was very successful. And it was just from start to finish, everything just went according to plan. And we just understood that we have such an incredible working relationship. And even though we are very different, we just very much complement each other, and we just cover each other's differences in a very complementary way. So following from that, we were pushing the film that we made together. In the meantime, I also got into distribution with an online VOD platform called Halflakes, which promotes films by women, for women, and about women. And also in our film, we really wanted to give female voice power as well. And we had an all-female, almost not completely all-female, but majority female crew. And we really tried to work from that angle. And then the pandemic started, and both of us were just kind of so disconnected. And I had a very booming social life as well. And then suddenly I was just at home, and I was like, okay, what do we do? There's no work, there's no prospects. And Liza lives down the road from me. I forgot to mention. And that was when we first connected. That was something that really was a big similarity. We're like, wow, it's London, it's huge, and you just live 2 minutes away from me. So yeah, we were speaking, even though we couldn't see each other, obviously, because of the lockdown. And we used to just drop presents for each other and do little gestures. But we were like, we can't just do nothing. If we feel so disconnected and we live 2 minutes from each other, how does the rest of the world feel? And how do all our friends and all our colleagues and other filmmakers that we don't know? So we started very small with these weekly film chats. And yeah, that Liza will explain more, but that led to the development of what is today the Female Film Club, with a membership, a platform for international filmmakers from all over the world, from 35 different countries. And it's been super exciting 2 years. So it's really hard for me to even envision my life before the club, to be honest, because so much has happened in the past 2 years. And we'll talk more about it after as well, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. What an incredible story. We'll get on to Liza in just a second. But just to touch on what you said, obviously with the pandemic and everything, it impacted so much on the arts industry, but look what you've built in the last couple of years as well. It's just goes to show, doesn't it, with just strange things can happen to us, you seeing Liza just down the road from you, what a coincidence, in such a big city with so many people, and you two managed to connect. I just feel there's definitely something going on there.
There's something going on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Right. So Liza, where were you before Female Film Club?
Well, one of the things that I love so much about working in the film industry is that everybody has such a different path into entering. There's not one road into it, and mine has also been very unconventional because I actually started off as a professional dancer, and that's the reason why I came to London to train. After that, I worked as a dancer, and I also did dance films. I was like, here people don't just care about the moving of the body, but also way more is going on. So I was like, oh, I like this acting bit. Also speaking words, so I trained in acting. Then from there, I was like, actually, it's quite limited what women get to do in the film industry and what roles have been given. Let me do some writing. Let me do some producing. And then I went on to researching at Middlesex flawed female characters in Western 21st century film, which is loads and loads of feminist film theory, basically. And I dissected it, and I got really into it. And around that time that I was studying, that's when Nicole and I met, and then we made a short film, as she said. And from there, both of us always kept working in the film industry, and I'm still doing every now and then some films on the side. But it's so fun to use all of that expertise that we have been learning outside and actually real life experience of different positions in the film industry to then use that in the club, because I've after that worked as a first AD, as a producer, as an actor, as a writer, as a, all these things. And Nicole also on the acquisition side. So now when we have members from all these roles, we really understand them. We really get to connect with them. So it's really funny how this journey, starting off as a dancer, then ending up in the female film club, that feeling of, okay, all my skills that I've learned so far, it all led me to this point where I can use every single one of them, where it all comes together. And I think for many people feeling lost also as an entrepreneur, I'm wasting my time, or this didn't go out as planned, and every single thing is going to be useful in the end. I'm also a bit of a Lord of the Rings geek fan, and they always speak about Gollum, like every single person has its purpose. And I think as entrepreneur and as filmmaker, every single thing that you learn, every single good or bad experience is useful. And that's also what we hone on in the club with our members, on the shared experience, because we're all different and we're all coming from different walks of life and having 35 different countries. There's so much that we can learn from our differences, and we want our members to be different. We want, that sparks energy, that sparks interesting conversations. That's how you learn. That's how we create a more wholesome film industry. So that's kind of my walk of life till here.
Wow, that's amazing. Like your background as a dancer, and who knew that it was going to lead you towards the film industry. Like that's just such an incredible journey that you've been on. And then, like you said, about how it all, everything you do on your entrepreneurial journey actually does lead you to where you need to be in the end. And I think a lot of us don't trust in that sometimes, and it's really hard to at times, isn't it? Because you start questioning, well, I did this, and maybe it didn't go so well, but you've taken the time to do it, and at some point that is actually going to make sense to you further down the line. And I think, like, for me, that's something I've learned a lot along my journey. I've always thought, well, it all needs to make sense. I need to do it in this really logical way and like build my business logically, like they always tell us to, like the experts and stuff. But I'm just kind of like, well, no, I actually want to follow my intuition at times. I want to do this and experiment with this, and this. And I just need to trust in that journey that it's going to take me to where I need to be, where I want to be. And it's going to come from a place of real authenticity as well, because it's something that we're genuinely passionate about. So yeah, I just so agree with that point so much. Like it's huge, isn't it? Just to have that trust in your journey, and trust that it will work out in the way that it's supposed to. So yeah, I love, honestly, hearing both of your backgrounds. Like you've come from quite different backgrounds, both of you as well. So it's really interesting that you've both come to this like same kind of crossroads almost. Like you kind of came to the same place, and you were like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be from this background of mine, which has all like geared me up towards this business in the film industry. But you just would never have thought that it would take you to that point. So like I just love hearing about both of your backgrounds, because there is such a contrast, and it's Yeah, it's just such an interesting journey that you've both been on. So I'd like to go to the next question now. Although I would love to talk about your backgrounds even more, but for the purposes of the podcast, we will move on. But I just want to know, what inspired you to start the Female Film Club? Like, are there any particular values behind it? I know you've already touched upon those a little bit, Liza, but what are the aims of the Female Film Club? Like, where did it come from? So I'll start with Nicole again on that one.
Like I said previously, I mean, we started the club to find this disconnect, within this disconnection that was happening around in the world.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to connect everyone together because we felt like we were disconnected. So how are others feeling? But then, of course, that grew and grew. And we've got a real aim with the club is just to help all women understand and all members understand that really their voice matters and the story needs to be told, and that it doesn't matter how many doubts you have about your story, about completing your life's work. Like, you should do it, and you need to follow what you feel like you're meant to do. And I think as women, so many times, and I speak also for myself, and it still happens to me, like, we become so doubtful of our own strength, and can I do it, and can I make it, and am I good enough, and is this really for me, or should I just give up because there's something else, or do I just sell myself to a job that pays better, But it's like, no, you have this skill, you're creative, and there's so much you can do. And like I said before, the reason I got into film is because I believe that stories and film, like, they change perceptions and they open people's minds. And it's like, so many of these films have made such a big difference in the world, and so many of our members also have these incredible stories, but we really want them to know that they really need to push forward and go ahead and tell these stories, because not to stop themselves before they even got started. So I think that was really one of our main aims with the club, is to empower women as much as possible, and also as a community to empower each other, because me and Liza are not teaching anyone anything. We're just, they're curating a space for all these incredible filmmakers to get together to then discuss films, help each other on the path. We're really based on career and life as well, so our career is not separate to our life, but everything is mixed together. We have a lot of mothers in the club as well, and it's just really finding that middle way where mindset also really comes in to just find that balance within yourself. And it's not always going to be balanced, it's not always going to be great, but you have a community to fall back on. And we always say, like, you can come on your good day, you can come on your bad day, it doesn't matter. The club is here for you. You don't need to come across all shiny and incredible and great and today is a wonderful day. Like, even if you feel a bit down or feel a bit sad, and especially now with what's happening in the world, not everyone is in this high morale, but we still really try to get everyone to still attend and to still come, because even if you come out with a little point of inspiration or just something new, or just listening to someone else talk that might make you feel better, then that's already something. So it's just all about creating these, like we always say, 2-millimeter improvements. So it's not about these mega changes in your life, because no one has a mega change, no one has this mega, I mean, you can do, and maybe luck, it can happen, but we really believe in doing these little changes every day to just create the life you want to live. So it's about creating your life's work and also building the life you want to live, and believing that you deserve to be there and create it.
Wow. Yeah, Nicole, I'm all for that. Totally. Like, empowerment is everything that I embody in Creative Goddess Club. It's something that I think women need to be able to realize this more. And I think these communities are much needed in this world today. Like you say, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's very hard to keep that positive mindset, because you almost feel like, well, is what I'm doing significant enough then? But what we're doing is significant, and together we can make a change, and we can make this world better with what we're doing. It's like you said, it's our life's work. And I think what you say about making those like minute changes like every single day, that is a hugely significant thing in the end, isn't it? It can build up so much over time if you're making those little tweaks every day, like improvements. I was reading recently actually about how, like, we're always seeking to improve ourselves. Like, there's always like an end goal in place. And I think I'm definitely of that mindset sometimes, where I'm like, oh, well, I've got to get better all the time. But I think, like, if you're sort of seeking self-improvement from a place of like you're doing something that you love and you're passionate about it and you're enjoying the process as well, I think that can make a huge difference as well in terms of like always looking for that like end result. It's actually being able to find some joy in the journey and in everything that kind of we're doing and all the experiences that we're having along the way. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point there because I found that so impactful actually. So it just made me realize that sometimes I'm not really thinking about, you know, I'm not enjoying where I am at the moment, and I need to embrace that a bit more. But yeah, so like interesting how similar your values are actually to the Creative Goddess Club. Like it's great that we can have this chat together because I feel like we are just so aligned. So yeah, I'd love to ask Nicole what you know she thinks on that point. Not Nicole, Liza. Sorry.
Well, to be honest, Nicole said most of the things. I don't want to repeat her. I think there's one more thing that I can add to it, and that's that we are really building bridges. Yeah. So between countries and between members, and also between areas in our life, because we have loads of sessions and everything is online. So a big thing what we want is make the film industry way more accessible. So there's such a big talent drain of mothers, of people maybe with who are not able-bodied, so they cannot always go to a film festival or attend every production, but they can always enter the club because you can do it on your phone. We have an app. You can do it from a tablet, from a laptop. And we have everything so simple and secure in one thing that we don't want to leave anyone behind. It's all about coming together. And we have had members flying to each other from different countries, and they've solely met in the club. And that's what we're about, because we're all a product of our environment. And the films that our members make are a product of their environment. So if we can make that environment more challenging, more inclusive, just get so much more in different sides of the world inside each other, then I think they start to realize, oh, my story does matter, because that's what Nicole said, and that's what we're about. My voice matter. I need to make it heard, and we want everyone to know that. Just because you haven't seen your type of story outside on the big screen doesn't mean that there isn't a market for it, that people aren't interested in it, that there isn't money out there to make your film, because it is there.
Yeah, so powerful. What you say about making your voice heard, and you know, your story matters. It does. Like I want so many more women to realize this in particular, because I think sometimes we do play small and we think just because someone else has shared like a similar kind of journey to us or something, like maybe they've had a similar career background or something, like we can't share our story. But there's always a uniqueness to it, because we're us. Like no one else is like us. There's like a 1 in a trillion chance that someone will be like us, you know. It's like so completely like unique in itself to just share that story. So I just love what you're all about. You're really giving women that voice to just know that they can put their story out there, and it's not impossible to get that visibility and that success from their film. Sometimes I think like I'm trying to, because I have absolutely no experience in the film industry, but from where I'm sitting, it kind of feels a bit like when you're coming up with a business idea, it may be like similar to when you come up with a film, and people are sort of telling you, well, that idea is already gone out there and it's has some success, so maybe, you know, just do some research and see what's already been done. But then I don't see how that's unique. Almost like sometimes I feel like,
well, I'm really sorry. I want to add to this, because unfortunately, it's rarely that women in the film industry get to hear your story's already out there.
Right.
It's not often that women's stories are being told double. It's more like, no one cares about your story. This won't sell. This won't be able to do. You're not going to get a crew for this. You're not going to get money for this. So it's not even, you need to be as original as possible, which is for a lot of entrepreneurs. Yeah. But it's more like no one cares about your product, basically. There's not a market for it. But what is super similar is that it's really lonely career.
Yeah.
And that as a creative, you're just by yourself writing or sending in audition tapes, or, you know, you don't necessarily have that support. And as an entrepreneur, you know how important it is to find your crew, to find your support around you.
That's so true. Yeah. No, it is lonely. It is lonely being an entrepreneur, and as a creative and an entrepreneur, yeah, you do feel kind of in that space of like, well, sometimes you lose that momentum because you don't have that community. And I feel like we do need to have those communities in place, like you guys. And I'm part of some really impactful like female entrepreneur communities as well, which I feel have just carried me on along the way. Otherwise, I think I would have just lost that kind of inspiration, almost, like, you know, being able to see the bigger picture and see where it could go. And yeah, I feel like in the film industry that would be so important, to be able to have that sense of community and empowerment, and be able to like lift each other up on those really down days where you're kind of questioning yourself. You know, I'm sure that happens a lot. You know, as creatives, we always question ourselves, don't we? And we think, some days we just think, why am I even doing this? And it can be so hard. So yeah, I love what you're doing there. And yeah, your values are just so strong. Oh no.
To add to that, I just want to say that me and Liza were so lucky to find each other and be each other's accountability partners. So we've always done that. Even if we didn't have a project together, we would check in with each other, and even not just about work, but also about like, how are you feeling? Is everything okay? So it's this kind of thin line that's also obviously work related, but then obviously very mindset related as well, and very on the human emotions. And we were just so lucky to have that with each other. And when we started the club, we thought more women need to have that with each other as well. And that's what we also hope, like Liza said, to create this connection that people have traveled from country to country to see each other, and then to really have a whole community that is an accountability partner for each other. So then even if we say like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then nobody hears it, but if someone hears it in a room, then it's like next month we're checking in again, and it's like, oh, you know that you have someone to be accountable for. And it makes a huge difference, especially on these career of ours.
Definitely. Yeah, it's amazing that your members have like traveled to different countries to see each other. Like, how powerful was that? And knowing that you've created that kind of space for women to be accountable with each other, and to have that sense of partnership, and that sense of like, you know, just someone supporting you, and like being your like almost cheerleader, you know. having someone like that is just so impactful for your business, and, you know, being a creator. So yeah, I have another question for you, and I think this is quite a juicy one. So what's the best thing about starting the Female Film Club?
I think it's been a journey, because as the Female Film Club grows, I've also been growing with it, and it's been such a road to understanding even more what I'm able to do, what my capacity is. Because I think, like everyone, even though you say my background is really interesting, but still I had so many moments of self-doubt even in there, and still trying to understand really who I am and what do I want. And I think with the Female Film Club, I'm really becoming myself as a woman, and knowing exactly what I want out of my life, the kind of life I want to create, and really structuring it in such a way that it's giving me balance. I think before the pandemic, I was always out and I was having lots of fun, and I'm still very social, but I think just my my focus and my direction has changed, and I've put mindset at the top of just my daily routines, and it's just something that I can't go without. And I'm also doing my NLP practitioner course now, so I will be a certified NLP coach hopefully in about 2 weeks. So I'm very excited about that. So that's also something that's come as a result of the Female Film Club. So I think as the club grows, I grow, and constantly growing. It's like, oh, what else can I learn? Oh, what else do I want to do? And it's just so much fun, to be honest, to create this life that we want. And we're really creating a universe. I always say, if the world looked like the Female Film Club, then we wouldn't have half the things we're having at the moment, because it's just so much respect, and just so much inspiration, and just none of that negativity. It's like everyone gets the best out of everyone, and I think I'm really learning a lot from our members as well, constantly, and it's just not to be, but it's really a beautiful journey. And as the club grows, I grow. and my ambitions as well, and my self-development work, and my relationship with Liza as well. And we're constantly learning new things because obviously we're running our own business now. So there's so many things that we're like, oh, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And to be honest, I would have never thought 2 years ago that I'd be running an online community, because I was such an in-person, and just to be able to bring this authentic and real connections to an online community is incredible, because I've just seen people be so vulnerable, and it's so beautiful, and we've been vulnerable with our members, and it's just, how do you still really create those connections? So it has nothing to do when you can meet someone in person and still not reach that level, and then you can connect with them online and reach that level. So it's really about, I think it's about the tone, and it's just it's an exciting journey.
That's amazing. I love how you say, as the Female Film Club grows, you grow, and then as you grow, Female Film Club grows, and it's just a lovely circle of personal growth, and this amazing journey that being an entrepreneur brings us on. It can just open our minds so much, can't it? I just feel like I've learned so much, a bit like you two actually. I'd say it was about 2 years ago when I really started thinking about personal growth, mindset, really acknowledging that I could actually create something amazing with my life, and I didn't have to settle for the corporate job I was in. I didn't have to do what everyone said I was supposed to do. I could actually do what I wanted and create something that I really wanted, because life is so precious, and I just realized that I wanted to make a go of it and really work on myself, and I just think that's such a beautiful thing, like being able to grow as a person, because it makes the world just seem so much more exciting, I think. Like you were saying, as you're figuring out things, like, I didn't know how to do that, let's figure out how to do this, and like all these things that we never thought that we would actually be doing, and we're like doing them, and we're learning all the time, and that's really valuable for us as humans, to have that kind of growth process going on. So I love that so much. Liza, what's your take? What's the best thing about the Female Film Club?
I mean, I don't think I can pinpoint one thing, but it's again, I've always been super passionate about entrepreneurship and self-development already when I was at Dance Academy from like 18, 19 years old. But I never thought I would actually do something with it or actually be an entrepreneur. Because like, no, I'm a creative. And I think that's really interesting, because many entrepreneurs, it takes a while for them to take that leap to really identify as an entrepreneur. And I think that fluidity in identity is almost essential, as in, how do I identify myself and what's helpful for me? I think what has surprised me the most in a positive way is how authentic things online can be, how much real your connections can be. Like, we come to film festivals and we're speaking with members that we've seen for a year long online, or even just a few events online. And it's like a long lost friend, because you know that person, you know what the person went through in all kind of stages, you know their successes, you know their fears, you know their connections. And it's so beautiful to connect with people in such a way before you even met them in real life, or maybe even you won't need to meet them in real life. And that's really been a big surprise to me, because you start something up and you hope that it works, but you never know how good it works. And as we go along, we're like, oh, wow, it really works. And we don't have awkward silences on Zoom. And we don't have this, that you're like, it's not a formula that you can dissect. It's a kind of intuition-led thing. And that's also a beautiful thing about having a female-led community, that there's so much intuition and softness going on. And even with the men in the community, because we do have, like, where the doors are open for all genders. But of course, I'd say 95% of the members is all women. And it's beautiful to see them being so gentle and having no competition at all. There's no want to be better. There's no jealousy. There's just support and love and sharing and helping each other up. And that's possible coming from a dance background where it's a lot of competition and auditions, and it's a harsh world. To see that support in a creative industry, that's still blowing my mind at every single event. I'm like, wow, this is how I want the world to be. Yeah.
Wow, that's so, I love that so much. Yeah, I was just going to touch on what you were saying about that authenticity and of those connections with people. And I know, Nicole, you mentioned this too, this whole thing about being an entrepreneur and a creative at the same time. And I do agree that it can take us a while to identify as an entrepreneur. It's something that just sometimes at the beginning I feel like it just doesn't feel right, and you've got to wait until maybe you reach that point where it feels comfortable. But I only recently started calling myself an entrepreneur. I almost couldn't accept it for some reason. And I just
it's so, people think so highly of an entrepreneur. It's so glamorized, this entrepreneur lifestyle, and it's basically just making your own stuff happen and finding solutions all the time for all kinds of problems.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's probably why, because I put them almost on like a pedestal and was like, there's no way that I could be like that. That's not me. I'm this person. And I almost like, I self-identified as being like not good enough. Sometimes I have had those kind of, mindset issues where I've like had low confidence. So it's probably something to do with that as well. But what you were saying about that personal connection with others in a creative industry, like you were saying, when you were a dancer, it was competitive. You didn't know that you could actually work together with other people in your industry to actually become stronger. And I think that's something that we don't realize sometimes. Like, I think we look at the online space as online business owners, we think, well, there's so much out there. Like, how could I possibly work with others to get myself more visibility, or to how could I create connections to actually be successful in my business? How would that work? But really, it does work because it comes from a place of authenticity. And I truly believe, and I'm sure you two do as well, like when you come from that place of authenticity and vulnerability, like you were saying, you can create something even more amazing. I don't think there's enough vulnerability online, actually. I know that there's a lot of talk about things like mental health. There is quite a bit of that online, which is great. I love that it's getting the exposure that it deserves, but almost sometimes I think that we're told that we shouldn't be vulnerable in terms of like sharing honest truths about our journey. Like, we're supposed to almost be like positive all the time. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we get punished or corrected by our environment the moment we are vulnerable, and then we learn ourselves or teach ourselves like, oh, if I behave like this, then it doesn't come across right. But it might just be your environment. If you find your tribe and the people that really support you and believe in the same thing, they can be different. Like Nicole and I are completely different, but we have the same core values. And if you have that, then you can be vulnerable, and then you can be authentic, and then it will be cheered on. And with billions of people in the world, find your tribe, and online it's easier than ever.
Yeah, and also true. I think what we've noticed as well is the film industry is also a very competitive industry. And there are so many, everyone is always trying to show off and kind of be like, I did this and I did this. This is my CV. And when you meet someone at a festival, you always have to be this super positive, super like you're working on a million things. And what we're promoting is like, no, we don't sell yourself to each other, because if you actually build these true connections that are authentic, eventually you might end up working together like me and Liza did. Because we just started by like, oh, you live down the road from me, how strange. And then I'd see her on the bicycle, I'd be like, hi, I want to grab a coffee. And it just started really natural. She gave me a Christmas card, and then we're like, oh, let's meet and talk about maybe doing something together. And then it just worked, but it built up from there. And that's what we're hoping that other members do as well, because it's less kind of what can I get out of each other? Let's try to get something. It's kind of what can you give the other person, and then what they'll give you something back, and then you're creating something together, and it is authentic.
Yeah, exactly, Nicole. Being able to share those sort of deep feelings inside of us, that is how we truly connect with other people. And it's not about shouting the loudest and saying, look at what I've done. Actually being able to share the journey that you've been on and the struggles that you've experienced, that is how we can actually connect with others as well, I feel like. And yeah, the struggles is something I think in my community, it can be hard to share them, because I think we are told to be positive to attract people, because positivity attracts positivity, I guess. But at the same time, to create that true connection, I feel like more vulnerability is needed, and more honesty about what we experience as humans, and you know, in our businesses and as creatives as well. So I love that you two connected on that level, and you are where you are now as a result, and that's such a powerful thing, isn't it? So yeah.
And just to add to that, it doesn't have to be opposite. You can be and authentic and positive, or you know, it doesn't have to be the same. You can still say, like, I'm struggling with XYZ, and this is how I'm going to tackle it. And does anyone have an idea how to tackle it? Like, it doesn't have, it's not opposite sides of the spectrum. And I think that's really important, because we're not like all happy-dovey, or we're sad, lonely, we don't know what to do with ourselves. There's a whole spectrum in between. And I think if we explore that spectrum and don't see it as either happy and confident or sad and weak almost, then we really get to connect, because then there's not an outlook on this is how you should be, or this is, you're not putting each other in a box. You're just human being with a variety of emotions, and everybody feels sad, and everybody feels happy, and everybody feels all these spectrum of emotions. You can all connect one-to-one with everyone, because everybody has these emotions. And then it's not a matter of, oh, I have to be positive. It's, oh, this is the emotion, or this is the item in my business or whatever I'm struggling with right now. How is that for you? Do you have any tips? Have you been there? And I think that's really helpful within our community.
Definitely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's a really, really important point to make. To not just view it as like black and white, like, you know, this and that. There's actually a whole range of emotions we can feel, and we can feel them at the same time as well. So yeah, love that point so much. And I want to try and communicate that a bit more, I think, to my audience, that yeah, it's okay to have all these feelings and at different times as entrepreneurs, as creatives. That's totally fine. So I guess we've already touched on this a little bit, but how would you say mindset has impacted you on your business journey, in terms of like the different ranges of emotions that you felt, I guess? Like, have you, just as a sub question, I guess, have you felt huge highs from mindset, but then you've actually had lows at times, and how have you kind of tackled that? So I'll start with Nicole.
So, I mean, we both did a face when he said, how is mindset? Because it is our business. I think mindset is at the core of our business. It's at the core of us. It's at the core of our relationship as business partners and friends. And when I said before, as the club grows, I grow. Also, my mindset grows as well, and the practices I do, and constantly exploring different things. For me, mindset, it's always been part of my life. But having such a busy life and always running around before, it was always kind of difficult to implement it in a more regular basis. And obviously in the beginning of the pandemic, we had all this time, and I was like, okay, so then I'm doing the long meditations, and I'm learning the tapping, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And then you just find what works for you. And where I'm sitting today, and especially from the start of this new year to 22, I've just implemented certain things, and they're just part of my routine. And what I notice is that it doesn't matter if I'm having a good day or bad day, I will still do the practices, because it's so easy to say, oh, I feel great today, I don't need to do my meditation, or I don't need to do this, or why should I exercise first thing in the morning? And for me, exercise is also part of mindset. So I just do it regularly, and it doesn't matter what happens. I just know that if I don't follow certain things, then my mood can also be affected. Like, I am only human, and we all have these emotions, and I am an entrepreneur, and some days are great and some days are harder. So I think the mindset just really, really helps, helps you really keep that. And it's not even a positive state, but it's just like this can go attitude that it's okay. Like, everything is fine. Everything is under control. I'm not getting overwhelmed by things, and I'm just handling it. And it's just sometimes just to take a second and to just breathe and be like, okay, I'm focusing on my breath now, and I'm kind of disconnecting from everything else, because at the end, everything is fine. Like, we're going through this, and then you do this, and sometimes you do this. For those that can't see me, I just did ups and downs. But at the end, it's how do we handle it? And it's just, I mean, I can have a day where I just let myself go, and I'm like, okay, just feel a bit whatever today, you're allowed. But I don't let myself feel like that for too long, because the worry is that if it's one day, it's 2 days, it's a week, then the business suffers. And then there's so many counter effects. Then you feel even worse. And then it just becomes a mood, and it's like, oh, everything gets out of control. So it's just about taking it. And like I said before, and like Liza were also saying, we always say that with our members, it's these 2 millimeter steps. It's like, okay, maybe today is not the best day, but what are little things I can do to make it a bit better, and even just to make myself feel a bit better and feel in control. Because at the end, we're creating the life that we want to live. We're in control of our lives. No one is controlling us. And it's like, what tools are we using? And there's so many tools out there. So what I do is just constantly, and I'm constantly getting new tools as well. I'm like, oh, I want to try this. How does this work? And everything just helps. It just helps.
Yeah, definitely. It's so good to explore different ways of like, you know, self-care, and also, you know, ways of like keeping your mindset strong. Like you say, it doesn't have to be positive, like, you know, woohoo, like you know, happy all the time, you know, like always upbeat. It's just about being able to carry on those days when things aren't looking so good, and it feels like maybe something isn't working, but actually having the mindset to be like, okay, let's try something else then, or let's maybe give it a bit longer. Maybe it's not had enough time to work. Like all of these different nuances that we have when we're launching products, services, entrepreneurs, creatives, like that's something that can really hit us some days where we feel like something isn't working. And I've definitely had that a lot, and especially in the last month, like I wasn't well, you know. I unfortunately had COVID last month for the first time, which was unfortunate, but I was launching my course at the same time, and I was like, why is this happening to me now? You know, you just get so frustrated. And after that, I was very tired for about a week, and I had to give myself the permission just to rest and just be like, look, I need to take a step back from this, and it's okay, like the world's not going to end if I do that. And just, yeah, it's just acknowledging, like, if you are having a really bad day, maybe you're burning out, maybe you've actually been in your business too much, maybe you need to do something that lights you up a bit more, go outside, go to the gym. And I agree, exercise is huge for me. Like you said, Nicole, I exercise is a huge part of like keeping my mindset strong. So yeah, I definitely noticed like my mood changes if I don't exercise. And like you were saying with some of the things that you do, you can notice that if you decide not to do them on a particular day, and even if you're on a day having a day where you're like, oh, I actually feel really good today, you know, actually not choosing to do that on that day could impact you the following day. And yeah, so it's so important to just keep at it with working on your mindset for sure. So Liza, how much has mindset impacted your journey as well?
Almost everything. Mindset is everything for me as well. The fun thing about the Female Film Club is I work a lot with mindset coaches, and next to that, I'm always, you know, on YouTube or reading new books or finding new techniques, or always challenging and expanding our mindset, because I don't think there's one trick that works for all, not at all. And that's why we're also wanting to give our members a scala of things and tools and skills that can help you, so you can tap into, oh, I'm feeling like this, then my meditation works. Oh, actually now I need to go for a run or play with the dog or do some journaling or whatever works for you. So it's not about never falling off the wagon or whatever that means for you, but it's about taking control and ownership about your mental state and like soothing yourself and helping yourself. And why wouldn't you want to know more about that? And why wouldn't you, like, if you say it helps me now to sit on the couch and eat ice cream, then you do that, but know that it actually works for you. Because how often does that actually work for you in the long run? Be really honest with yourself. Or does a walk with the dog or making your favorite avocado on toast, you know, is that actually helping you? Because you maybe feel proud or you feel excited and you go on to the next step and you go on to the next step. And wherever you feel like, it's not about reaching from a low to a high level. It's just again, 2 millimeter better. Oh, this feels good. Let me go for another 2 millimeter better. Oh, this feels really nice. And then, as Nicole said, not when you're feeling, yes, I'm on top of my game, I'm in control of everything, I love my life, this and that, everything is good. I don't need any mindset. No, that's not how it works, because we've all done that. And then we're going back to the low. We're like, oh, I have to start all over again. Next to that, I'm also really conscious now of what point in my cycle am I on as a woman, and I think that's really helpful also to just stay in tune with yourself, with your intuition, and just also to be able to communicate that. And I'm feeling low because my energy are normally low because X, Y, Z, and that's okay. It's not about always pushing or always doing the next best thing. So to pinpoint it, I think it's being very much aware of yourself, what techniques work for you and when and at what moment, and very honest, is this truly helping me, or is it a self-sabotage what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's a really good point that you made at the end about self-sabotage, because sometimes something can feel good at the time, but then actually it's not really helping you. And I totally agree with the fact that certain things can work for other people, but it might not necessarily work for you, and you've just got to find that. You've got to be in tune with that and really connect with yourself on that level, by just exploring and just seeing what works for you in the end. Because I've tried doing certain things that people actually swear by, and for me it just doesn't come naturally. It's not really in line with my energy for some reason, and I'm like, well, why isn't this working for me? And instead I should just be like, well, look, you something else.
I'll find something that does work for me.
Exactly. It's so true. So people say, oh, there's this morning routine that I have to have, like people sort of post online about, and people think, well, oh, I don't have time to do all that. It's like, you don't have to. You can have your own version of what you do first thing in the morning. And for me, it's like I don't look at my phone straight away, like things like that. My phone is a cause of anxiety for me, and I try not to as much before bed either, because it just trigger me. It does trigger me doing that. So it's about finding what works for you
and to keep exploring, because you will keep evolving. The more mindset you do, the more self-development you do, the more you will change. And also, I think as an entrepreneur, as you're constantly fixing things, it changes you as a person. Like Nicole and I have had a major transformation from 2 years ago till now. And then also different things help for you in the future than in the past. And I think just staying open and keep exploring is the key to mindset.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's so true. Yeah. You do change as a person, and it's just about honoring that you have changed, and that's fine. That's actually really good. And don't let anyone make you feel bad about it, because that it's taking you to where you need to be. And sometimes we have to change to get there. And so I'll just go on.
I just want to say, we always change as people. Like, change happens really naturally, but it's about growth as well.
Yeah.
It's about growing, because change can be like great change or not great change.
Yeah, true.
It's about taking the steps towards growth and development, like you're really promoting. So that's also really what we're about in the female film.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. Yeah. This idea, this sort of, you're evolving, but you're growing at the same time. And I mean, personal growth is just it can feel so uncomfortable, can't it, as well? Like, definitely it can feel like an uncomfortable journey as you're becoming that person. Well, I say becoming, like, we're always growing, so you're not actually becoming anyone necessarily, because there's always another step, there's always more to be done. It's never over, is it? We're always growing. So it can feel quite uncomfortable, but that's actually a good thing. And I've learned to acknowledge that if I feel uncomfortable, that actually is a good thing, and that's okay. I'll just go on to the last question. So is there any advice that you would give to creative women who want to start a business in something they're really passionate about, but self-doubt is holding them back? Do you have any tips based on your experience, Nicole?
I think first thing I'd say is really find your tribe, find your accountability partner, find the people that will be there, that are positive, that will support you on your journey. It's really important. It can be a really lonely place, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I would have done it without Liza. So I'm really lucky, but I want other women to also, and even if you don't have a business partner or someone that you work with very closely, just find your community of like-minded, supportive different, because we're all different, but like-minded in values, like Liza said before. And also, don't give up. Just keep going, because if you have, it's not a dream, but if you want something and you know that that is meant for you, then just don't quit and just take those steps. Like we said, 2 millimeters, like every day a step closer, and work towards what you want, because you will get there. And yeah, surround yourself with people that can help you get there as well. It's very important.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the community aspect is huge, isn't it? And I think I would definitely, like, I would say the same, because it's about having the right people around you, and the people that lift you up, the like-minded people. And yeah, I couldn't agree more with that one. So Liza, what advice would you give?
I would say there's not a prize for the most hardworking, for the most pushing through. It doesn't make sense. It's a long breath being an entrepreneur and being a creative, and things go up and down and up and down. And if you just keep pushing for weeks in a row, your creativity is going to burn out, because creativity is a circle, and you need time for input, you need time to digest, you need time to go out. So make sure that you have, if you want to call it work in order to make you feel, like you're still productive, plan it in, but make sure you have time to have input, time to digest, and time for output. It's the same as with a launch, how are you going to find your audience? How are you going to prepare for them? You're going to put your product out, you're going to give the service, and then you're going to recharge for the new one. It's all a cycle. So I think having that in mind is really important. It's not a straight line. And it's really a journey. Again, finishing and starting with the Lord of the Rings analogy. I don't know what that's in my head today, but like, you're on a hobbit going for a journey, and you meet amazing friends along the way, and you have horrible days along the way. But be prepared for the journey and try to find the fun in it, because there's not one formula. There's not right or wrong way to do it. There's your way to do it. So find your way and make sure that, your cup is full before you're overflowing, and you can give to the others.
Yeah, well, that's such a nice note to end the questions on. I just want to say, I love your Lord of the Rings analogy. I mean, I'm not actually, I'm not well versed in Lord of the Rings, but my partner is very, very into it. So I will have to have a chat with him about this afterwards. But it's such a great analogy. I love it. And being able to fill your own cup before you help others, it's such an important part of the journey, to be able to just honor yourself and how you're feeling, and then you can give out to the world, like you're saying, as a creative, being able to give yourself the permission to take stuff in, but you don't need to be giving out all the time. It's a process, isn't it? And yeah, definitely as a creative, and I've spoken to other creative women on this podcast who've said the same thing, that where they've some days they don't feel creative, they don't feel like they have that output to give, and that's totally okay. It's okay to honor those days when you really do feel that way, and it is like an intuitive sort of action at times, like creative and intuition, creativity and intuition can combine together in that sense. So yeah, I've really loved having you on the show today. Thank you so much, Nicole and Liza. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed talking about your experiences, and I know that the listeners will just find everything you've said so inspiring. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well,
thank you for having us.
No worries. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So, what did you think? Show me some love and hit subscribe.